spirit of confusion, I think really what we're talking about is volatility, and we haven't had volatility in the market for a long time. We've had like a lot of stable market conditions, and now there isn't a stable market necessarily. There's volatility, so I think that promotes fear. So it's fear, confusion, but really what it is volatility, and that doesn't necessarily mean something bad.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate USA. Today we're talking the spring market and debunking myths. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button for more weekly content. Let's get going. Everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate. Today we have Jackie Kahan, what is your new title?
Director of Productivity and Lead Generation.
Ooh, very nice, at Keller Williams Suburban Realty. And today we're talking about the market, the spring market, and demystifying, debunking myths. All right, so let's get going. I want to start with that there's a media narrative going on that it's a terrible market. People can't buy homes, the interest rates are too high, prices are dropping, and yet I did an open house this weekend and 60 families came through. So what's going on with this narrative versus what's happening on the ground?
Yeah, I think the narrative is promoting confusion. I don't know if that's the goal, to promote confusion. I think in the spirit of confusion, I think really what we're talking about is volatility, and we haven't had volatility in the market for a long time. We've had like a lot of stable market conditions, and now there isn't a stable market necessarily. There's volatility, so I think that promotes fear. So it's fear, confusion, but really what it is volatility, and that doesn't necessarily mean something bad.
Because I'm noticing two trends happening. I'm noticing houses that are well-priced, well-marketed are going with like 15 offers over. And then I see the houses poorly marketed, poorly priced, sitting. There's nothing wrong with that.
But there's still not that much sitting.
Yeah.
There's a little bit in each town where, there are houses that sit, but there's still very, very low inventory.
So can you give us like an example, like 10 years ago in Livingston, how many houses would be on versus now?
Yeah, so I would say Livingston in a balanced market. So sure, let's say 12 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. About 130 homes at any given time would be on the market, and that wouldn't be cause for any concern whatsoever. That would look like a completely balanced market. And right now, I believe there are 42 homes on the market in Livingston, and it's been 35 to 45 for a while now.
So why? Why so low? And this is happening everywhere.
This is that right. That's just one town, a good example, but we can name almost any town, certainly in our area, Craig, that would look pretty much like that. Why? I mean, I think the biggest reason why is that everybody bought a house or refinanced when the rates were 2.25. And unless you have a serious reason to sell your house, divorce, death, relocation, something, you're going to sit with that 2.25 mortgage as long as you possibly can.
Yeah, so it's kind of returning to the reasons people actually moved rather than making a quick buck.
Correct.
Can we talk national trends in the fact that certain areas are getting hit? My colleague out in Boise, he tells me housing prices are down 15%, and yet here they're going up.
And you're wondering why there's a difference between Boise and here.
Well, I'm wondering what is with this massive national change, because it used to be everywhere during COVID was a huge seller's market. Now it's returning to really what's happening per region.
Right. And I think we're kind of going back to more what's classic in real estate is that, the states, the towns on the east and west coast are always going to be more protected in terms of keeping the market good versus the middle of the country, so say Boise. But you and I are sitting 18 miles outside of New York City, right? So we live in this little bubble where not that much has changed in pricing for a heck of a lot of years, except for, 4 to 6% a year increase. Uh, let's keep 2020 aside. That was a blip.
Yeah. Oh, people are now looking back and realizing that 2020 and 2021 was the abnormal. Even though it got stuck in a lot of people's minds who were looking at that time that was normal, and that 5 and 6% is abnormal. It's very high. But I'm noticing people coming into the market now have just accepted it and they're moving on.
Right, because they didn't live through that rush of getting, toilet paper real estate. They didn't live through that. They weren't ready then. They weren't in the market then. So they weren't running around with an agent. They weren't looking furiously, putting in many offers. So now they're just happy to go look at some houses. Yes, many of them are still entering multiple offers, but you just said something about 15 multiple. We were saying 55 multiple or 75 multiple. We were seeing crazy numbers. So they have more of a chance of winning now. Sure.
I'm noticing when it comes to pricing houses, now it felt like the concept during like the last 2 years was you saw what the houses were and you were trying to project forward.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now it feels like you're looking at what the houses are now and trying to undershoot in order to create the bidding war.
In terms of a listing agent pricing the house, you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're more sensitive now to looking when we're pricing, really looking at the market now. What's on the market that's competition and not what's recently closed, because that really was a different market 3 months ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've always said, always, 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 no matter what the market is, I have always preached that in order to do the best CMA to price a house, looking at the under contracts are the best way to go. And that's a hard thing because agents will say to me, well, we don't know what they're going to sell for because right now they're sitting under contract. We don't have a sale price. But that's the here and now. What recently went under contract is the best measure of how you should be pricing. And even if you have to call the listing agents and say, can you give me a clue? Did you have a lot of offers? Feel around for some answers because that's your best data. It's always been your best data.
Yeah. So I have a question. Have we seen a change in inventory? I know it's low. And then does that translate into how many offers are happening?
So great question. So I've seen the months of inventory pretty stable. I haven't seen any too much wavering. We've had in the towns we work in, Craig, I think we've been seeing 1.5 months of inventory plus or minus, a couple percentage points for quite a while. However, what I am seeing is more multiple offers for that inventory. We've never gone away from multiple offers, but we had a little bit of a quieter time. And I would say in the last 3 or 4 weeks, I'm now seeing and hearing agents who are coming to me with help with multiple offers, working with the seller when there's multiple offers coming in and analyzing them, hearing 60 people walking through an open house, 15 multiple offers. There's more. And we could say we're heading towards the spring market. And as you know, I always say Super Bowl Sunday is day one of the spring market. However, I think it's many factors. I think people are getting used to the volatility and they're like, okay, there's just going to be this volatility for a while. I'm okay. I need to buy a house.
Which is, there's very low inventory. So when do we see that break? How does that cycle break? But I'm also seeing in this area, not nationally, well, probably nationally also, but especially in this area, huge apartment developments. Literally every town has apartment developments of 200 units. There's Chatham, there's Summit, there's boom, 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 one after another of these luxury apartments going up. But here's the thing, the rents are starting to lower because there's now this deluge of apartments.
Right.
So what happens next?
If I had a crystal ball, I probably would have a different job. So this is a really unique time. And maybe that's also, with the concept of volatility, that's where there's some fear. What's going to happen? Where does it break? I've been in the business 22 years. I've never seen 42 houses on the market in Livingston versus 80, 90, 130, 150. I've never seen this new thing with developers that their favorite thing to build is luxury rentals. So I can't predict where it's going to go. I really can't. You've stumped me on that one.
Well, because we have so many apartment buildings being built everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Literally every town I know of
Mm-hmm.
has something being built.
Sure.
So
I agree.
the question then becomes, what happens with those? I'm sure some of them will turn into condos at some point,
Maybe there'll be condo conversion.
because that does happen.
That does happen. Sure.
And then that brings in new inventory into the area. What is some advice that you would be giving, let's say, buyers who are just entering the market, and advice for sellers just entering the market?
Great question. So buyers first, I would say if you're looking to hold 6 years and beyond, you shouldn't have any fear about buying high, buying low, interest rate high, interest rate low, volatility. If you're going to be holding that property 6 or more years, you look historically at what's happened in the market for hundreds of years, and for sure you're going to be okay and not look back and say, I overpaid. So I think that's big advice for buyers. And then there's also refinance, right? If you're worried, you can refinance. And then I would say for sellers, think about what it is about your current house where it's not the right house for you at this time, right? So sure, there's death, divorce, relocation, but there's also the house is a little too small, the house is a little too big, I need a yard, I don't need a yard, I want a pool, all of these other things, I want to move a couple towns over. Those are all really important things too. So if changing your lifestyle by moving is important, focus on that importance, because waiting for the market to change or shift and really not knowing what's going to happen, you're not getting anywhere with your lifestyle change that you're hoping for.
Lovely. So I think that pretty much covers everything for today. So thank you, Jackie, for coming on and really demystifying and debunking things. Lovely. All right. Talk to you again soon.